Hello, I'm Dr. James Bogash, Master of Health and Longevity and creator of Modern Health Myths. And today, given all the hype that's come up with both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine, I thought we'd dig a little bit into how the statistics actually work for this to put everything in perspective. And that's what you generally don't see when we get excited about something and we really want something to work. We forget the details and we just look at the marketing aspect of that. Let's just put it this way. And we're going to talk about something called the NNT, or number needed to treat. And I'll explain what that means in just a little bit. But both of these vaccines are based on what's called mRNA. So traditionally for vaccinations, we have found an antigen. This is like generally a series of proteins that may be found in a bacteria or virus, and then we inject them sometimes with an adjuvant to stimulate a stronger immune response, and then our immune system reacts to that, and that's how we develop that antibody response. Well, with this current technology, the idea is to inject mRNA, so messenger ribonucleic acid, in a capsule, so it's surrounded by fat. We inject it into the body, that goes into the cell, and then the mRNA uses our own cell machinery to make that antigen, that protein. In the case of COVID, it is the spike protein that they're using. It's irrelevant, but the idea is that your own cells now make this viral protein designed to stimulate a response. There's a lot of huge potential for using mRNA for different therapies, but the thing you need to know is it has never been used outside of human clinical trials. So certainly using them in small dosages and learning how they may affect how we can turn on or turn off them is important. But the first thing to understand is that we have no idea what the ramifications are going to be for massive use of these vaccines. So let's get into the how both trials worked, and they were similar. And they looked at the self-reported symptoms. So basically, in the Pfizer trial, there were almost 39,000, so 38,955. At least keep in mind some of the data is we can see a lot of it, but not all of it. So of that, almost 39,000 completed 2 dosages. They basically were designed that half would get the placebo, so no actual mRNA, and the other half would get the actual active ingredients, which has a big long name to it with some numbers and letters. And out of that, they found that there were 170 cases, 8 in the treatment, the people that got the active mRNA, and 162 that did not. So the placebo, clearly, this helped. So when you look at those numbers, it's about, and Pfizer claims like 90.7, 90% effective ratio in keeping people from developing symptoms of COVID. So again, these are people that develop symptoms and then were tested. So despite what somebody may say, I mean, these people probably had COVID of the 170 cases, and the way that having a positive PCR with somebody with symptoms certainly puts it into the most likely column. So we look at that, and that sounds exciting, like 90% effective. But this is when we get into NNT and numbers needed to treat. So generally, I typically use statin drugs to lower cholesterol as an example of how we play with the research to make things look better than they are. So in statins, generally, regardless of what you look at, you have to treat 1,000 people to prevent 11 heart attacks. If you didn't treat those people, 22 people would have a heart attack. So that's a 50% reduction. That sounds fantastic. But the reality is, out of 100 people treated, only 1 person is going to benefit. So that's an NNT of 1, and it pretty much sucks. when we want a number needed to treat, we really want like really closer to 1 to 2, 1 to 5, 1 to 10. You start getting into 10 and past 10, it's not as exciting. So remember that there were 170 cases. So basically, in the Pfizer trial, we had 154 less cases. So we could argue that the vaccine led to 154 less cases. Sounds exciting. But that's out of 19,500 people. So these numbers may change, but right now that leads to an NNT from my rough calculations of about 127. We have to treat 127 people to have one single person benefit from that vaccine. When looked at with those numbers, it's not nearly as exciting. I did a little bit more number crunching, and if at the beginning of this we had vaccinated the entire population of the United States, 332 million, based on those same ratios, we would have prevented about 2,582,000 cases. The CDC's current numbers are that from, what do we look at, from February to September, there were about 45 million cases. So if we had vaccinated every single person in the United States, we would have prevented far less cases than actually occurred. So the Moderna vaccine was not too much better, a little bit better. They had 30,000 people, again 196 cases out of the 30,000 people, 11 in the treatment, 185 in the placebo. So that boiled down to about 86 numbers needed to treat. Better, but still not stellar. So when we get excited and people, the public sees the 94% or 90%, they get excited, but they don't realize how many people we had to treat to protect a very few number. So right now the side effects on these drugs really, these vaccinations really aren't known. But if you have 127 people treated and only one benefit, any side effect in those 127 is considered an unwanted side effect. So what this really means is that the vaccines, that the numbers given, are not a panacea. These aren't going to wipe things out. Yes, they seem to be effective. Yes, they seem to reduce the number of severe cases. There's a lot of questions we don't have, but those things seem pretty clear. So they do reduce the number of cases, seem to reduce the number of severe cases, but we have to treat a massive amount of people to really see a difference. So for me, from my standpoint, this means that we can't forget to be doing everything we need to take care of ourselves and our immune system, because those things don't have side effects and they're going to help regardless of whatever virus or bacteria we happen to be discussing. So again, I'll put these numbers in the description of the video so you can kind of look at the numbers and break them out. Again, these are based on the current data that we have. They may or may not change as we get closer, as we get more data out, but this is the readily available data from both of Moderna and Pfizer's website. So make sure you share this video with somebody who you think needs this information, subscribe to the channel, and like the video.